a family falls victim to a devastating crime.
I've got a man that's been shot. We've also got a house on fire out here.
The house appeared to be fully engulfed in flames.
This crime is unfathomable.
The search for survivors plunges the case deeper into mystery.
She was missing or she kidnapped.
Nobody has seen her since before the fire.
As investigators unearth a terrifying tragedy, dark secrets come to light.
In essence, it was just like a job to him. No emotions attached.
And at the center of it all is a twisted romance that burned with deadly intensity.
They just fed off of each other and built it up, and it became exciting to them.
It caught me off guard just like it caught the rest of the world off guard.
That is one of the cruelest and most cold things that I have ever heard in my life.
Of East Texas.
Rains County is just a small country town with lots of old families that have been there forever. Everybody knows everybody. It's just a sweet town where people help people. You know, we reach out and we help each other.
And in Rains County, one of the best-known and well-loved families was the Caffeys.
It was a happy family. The Caffeys enjoyed being together as a family.
Terry and Penny Caffey, along with their older daughter Erin and their two young sons, Tyler and Matthew, had called the small community home since 2005.
Penny was the greatest mom. She was there when you needed somebody to talk to. She would never judge you. Terry, he was a great dad. He was always there on the weekends just doing stuff around the house, cleaning up the yard or fixing something. They were like the picture-perfect couple.
With Terry working full-time to support his family, Penny was able to homeschool their children. And at the center of the Caffey family's life was their devotion to their church.
Faith was very important to the Caffeys. Terry was actually moving in the direction of being ordained as a minister.
They would sing in church and lead in church, so they would practice at home. They always had music playing.
Singing church hymns was a favorite pastime shared by everyone in the Caffey family. But it was Penny and Terry's oldest daughter, Erin, who showed a special talent.
People loved Erin's singing voice. She had a very strong voice, very much a Southern gospel style voice. She could bring life to a song that often others wouldn't be able to. It was very powerful.
Not only can Erin sing like an angel, but Penny plays a piano. The boys play other instruments.
Despite her close relationship with her family, Erin Caffey began to grow restless with her sheltered life around the time she turned 15.
There was not a lot of exposure to the outside. She goes to church. She's homeschooled. Maybe she sees a few friends.
Eager for a chance to interact with other kids her age, Erin convinced her family to let her get a job as a car hop at a local restaurant in the summer of 2007.
They gave her roller skates, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. She'd come home and she'd have her tips in her pocket, and we'd talk about what she did that day and who she saw.
Terry and Penny were so impressed with how well Erin handled her summer job that they allowed their daughter to enroll in a public high school the following year.
She didn't feel comfortable being homeschooled anymore because she wanted to make more friends.
Erin joined the junior class at Rains High School in the fall of 2007. It wasn't long before the blonde-haired, blue-eyed teenager was one of the most popular girls in school.
She's loving it. She's making friends. Boys were noticing her. They're flirting with her. It's a whole different world.
And it was during a work shift her first semester that Erin caught the eye of one of her school's most popular students, 18-year-old senior Charlie Wilkinson.
She went up to his window and she's the one that took his order, and that's how she met him. And, you know, of course, the teenage girl oohs and ahs about this cute guy that she met.
He had the hat, the boots, the belt. He looked like the Texan with confidence. He's a good-looking guy. He obviously is smitten by her because she's beautiful. There's a instant chemistry, an instant connection between the two.
When Charlie asked Erin out, it wasn't hard for her to convince her parents to let her go on the date. Before long, the two teenagers were inseparable.
It was your typical teenage relationship. It was puppy love and, oh, he's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And they were this cute little couple.
But while Erin's parents accepted that their teenage daughter was growing up, they maintained a close watch on her budding new romance.
They wanted what was best for their daughter, and Erin really seemed to be thriving. She had new school, new job, new boyfriend, new friends, and she still had this great relationship with her parents.
This was a very, very loving home, somewhere that you would expect the kids to grow up and just be great influences on the community and just awesome people, because that's who their parents were and that's who their parents were raising them to be. I think that's why it was so shocking to the community, because it wasn't like we saw this coming.
It all begins on March 1st, 2008, when the Rains County Sheriff's Office receives an alarming 911 call at 4:15 a.m.
This is Tommy Gaston. I've got a man that's been shot. He's out here at my house now.
He heard banging on his door, and he opened the door and found his next door neighbor, Terry Caffey, laying, bleeding from several different locations, covered in blood.
When did this happen?
I don't know, just a little bit ago. And we've also got a house on fire out here.
Emergency crews raced to the scene.
The fire department was on scene, and the ambulance arrived about 5 minutes before I got there. And as I rounded the corner, the house appeared to be fully engulfed in flames.
As fire crews battle the fire consuming the Caffey home, deputies find Terry Caffey barely clinging to life inside his neighbor's house.
Terry had 4 what appeared to be gunshot wounds in his back, a gunshot wound through the face. He was having a hard time breathing. The medics advised that he was critical.
He said that an intruder had attacked him and his family and then set the house on fire.
Terry also tells the deputy that his wife Penny and their 3 children are still inside the burning house 400 yards away.
The first responders, they wanted to get in the house and get the family out safe. That was their #1 priority.
Coming up, firefighters battle an inferno and begin the search for possible survivors.
We did not know how many people might be inside the house.
It's the worst thing you could ever imagine.
And authorities turn their attention to a missing person.
Maybe she was...
Fire crews in Rains County, Texas are working to extinguish a raging house fire at the home of 41-year-old Terry Caffey. Terry is en route to the hospital after
people might be inside the house.
The intensity of the flames prevents firefighters from attempting a rescue until the blaze is extinguished. At daybreak, the fire is finally put out. As firefighters begin to sift through the ashes, they know the chance of finding any members of the Caffey family alive is slim.
It was a very complicated, large crime scene. 2-story house that had burned all the way to the foundation.
We start processing the crime scene. Very tedious, very delicate process. And when we were sifting through the remains of the house, we did discover charred remains.
It looked like it was the body of an adult, and the investigators were thinking right off the bat, this is Penny Caffey.
Under the collapsed roof, investigators make another tragic discovery.
We discovered the 2 boys.
Dealing with the deaths of children is very, very traumatic. You never get over it. It stays with you. It's the worst thing you could ever imagine.
As the coroner prepares to move the bodies from the scene, investigators come to an astonishing realization.
A couple of the deputies knew the Caffey family, so they knew that if they've only recovered 3 bodies, somebody's missing.
They did not find Erin.
The thought would be that maybe by chance that she had survived, that maybe she was laying down somewhere and injured, needing medical attention.
Maybe she got away. Maybe she's hiding in this rural area. Where is she? That's the big question. Where is she?
Search parties fan out across the 20 acres of wooded property surrounding the Caffey home, but there's no sign of the missing 16-year-old.
We considered every possibility. When we didn't find her, then we started thinking about, was she kidnapped? Was she just away for the night?
With Terry Caffey in emergency surgery, investigators have been unable to question him, leaving authorities in the dark about what happened during the attack. In the meantime, crime scene investigators sift through the ashes of the Caffey home for possible clues.
We were there for 12 hours, sifting through this debris, looking for minute traces of anything that would identify who was involved or who committed this crime. We found 2 spent .22 shell casings and also some bullet fragments.
Unfortunately, investigators are unable to recover any more significant evidence.
We knew that the evidence was going to be difficult to find. If we could, the fire was very hot and probably destroyed most of it.
As news of the tragedy spreads through the community, friends of the Caffeys are left horrified.
A mother, 39 years of age, 2 male children aged 8 and 13 have been found in the residence. Has been burned.
It was a shock. Everybody was just astonished, not just that it happened, but in such a small town to such great people. I mean, things like that don't happen here.
Being a small community where a lot of the people knew each other, it just magnifies the impact.
At autopsy, the medical examiner confirms that Penny Caffey, 13-year-old Matthew Caffey, and 8-year-old Tyler Caffey had all 3 been the victims of violent attacks.
When you see this kind of injuries coupled with the fire trying to destroy the victims and their home, that's something that's normally consistent with an individual who has a personal vendetta or is angry with everybody in that home.
But who hated the Caffey family enough to commit such a horrific crime? Without any leads, police fear they are running out of time to find Erin alive. But they get a glimmer of hope when they receive word that doctors have stabilized Terry Caffey, despite 4 gunshot wounds to his torso and 1 to his head.
They're trying to piece it together. And he's struggling because he got shot 5 times.
My hope was that my brief visit with him would at least pass some information that would help us.
In a recorded interview, detectives questioned Terry to find out exactly what happened the night his family was attacked, which he describes in horrific detail.
I know you relived this several times, but can you tell me so I'll know what happened?
We were asleep in the bed. Heard gunshots. Somebody is in the doorway shooting our direction.
And suddenly he starts feeling pain in his body. He's being hit by bullets.
He raised up and turned his head to the right and was hit in the right cheek, and the bullet passed all the way through and came out by his left ear.
He was trying to protect Penny, and then he took a shot that knocked him out of the bed.
There's just a little bit of space between the wall and my bed, and I fell face down, and he just kept shooting at me.
He actually lost consciousness.
Convinced Terry was dead, the shooter left the room. When Terry regained consciousness moments later, he heard another gunshot coming from upstairs.
And then he lost consciousness a second time. And then when he woke up, the house was in flames.
I woke up, it was hot, and my bedroom was on fire at the foot of the bed, and I was screaming. And I see my wife down there full of blood.
You saw your wife?
Wife at the other end of the bed, and she was dead.
I can't even imagine for a second being shot 5 times, looking over to your wife, seeing that she's gone, and hearing your children upstairs needing help.
Terry tried desperately to get to his children, but his path was blocked by the growing flames.
That whole area was engulfed. He couldn't go out that way, and so he couldn't get to the kids. He went to the bathroom. He walked through a tunnel of fire and smoke. He was able to finally make his way to the small window and then climb out the window. It ultimately came to a point where he had to decide to get out of the house or die himself. He saw the porch light of his neighbor, and he just kept praying, God, let me go to that light.
I don't think that in his mind that he thought he would actually survive, but he wanted somebody to know who was responsible for the murder of his family.
Coming up, a suspect is identified.
I had asked Terry if he knew who did it. He said yes.
Less than 12 hours after he was gunned down by an intruder, Terry Caffey is recounting the horrifying details of the attack on his family at their home in Rains County, Texas.
Could you see this guy that you're talking about?
I got woken up out of sleep, and that's when I got shot.
That's when Terry reveals he realized who had attacked his family.
Who was in the doorway shooting your direction?
I had asked Terry if he knew who did it, and he said he did, and he's able to make a positive visual identification, but he knew the voice quite well, and he was confident that it was Charlie.
But why would Erin's 18-year-old boyfriend, Charlie Wilkinson, attack her family? Terry explains that their trouble with Charlie began the previous year, not long after he and Erin began dating. According to Terry, Charlie had seemed like a perfect gentleman at first.
Charlie was a good old country kid. He loved to hunt and fish and just be around friends. He always had your back. I met him when my oldest was a freshman. Charlie was always around us. He came over and hung out at the house, was always helpful if I needed anything. You know, he was the kind of kid to say, hey, do you need me to take out the trash? Once he graduated, he was going into the Texas National Guard, and he took it very seriously.
But Charlie's plans for the future changed as soon as he met Erin Caffey.
Almost every time I seen Erin, she was with Charlie. He told us a few times that he wanted to marry her and he was in love with her. I do know he gave her a promise ring. I remember that.
It was his grandmother's ring, and he was very excited about being able to give it to her.
While Penny and Terry had originally accepted the idea of their teenage daughter dating, they soon became concerned as Erin became increasingly infatuated with her new boyfriend.
Erin's grades started slipping, and after a while, Terry and Penny got a call that she was skipping class. And that came as a huge shock to them and was completely out of character for her because she'd always been a great student.
Concerned that Charlie had become a bad influence on their daughter, Penny and Terry had decided to dig into his background.
Penny went to the library and she was on the internet up there, and she pulled up his MySpace, and she saw a lot of cussing and partying.
I know there were references to alcohol, to sex, to other things like that. And that just went contrary to what they believed and to what they wanted for their daughter.
They made a family decision that this was not a person that they wanted in an intimate part of their daughter's life.
In February of 2008, Penny and Terry had put their foot down.
They did what many parents probably would do. They said, no, this is not a good relationship, and we're still the parents, and you're still our daughter, and so you are going to break up with him.
We told them they had to break up. It was bad news.
When did you tell them they were going to have to break up?
Wednesday. It was Wednesday.
They were basically telling her she had to break up with Charlie. She was going to stop seeing him, even if they had to make her quit her job, because they knew that she would have contact with him there.
Despite her own deep feelings for Charlie, Erin had obeyed her parents.
At that point, Erin said, no, you're right, because she trusted their opinion. She understood why they would say those things and why they would think those things, because she knew who they were and she knew who they raised her to be.
On February 27, 2008, Erin ended her relationship with Charlie, leaving him heartbroken and furious.
He was pretty upset with her dad and mom not approving of him. He even asked me some advice about it, and I told him I'd leave it be. I'd leave it be and just walk off from it.
3 days later, the Caffeys were attacked in their home, and Erin had vanished.
Terry Caffey was convinced that Charlie was angry at Erin too, because when Terry and Penny had asked Erin to end the relationship, she seemed okay with it. So it looked like Charlie had every reason to cause Erin harm as well. If Charlie was upset that Erin had dumped him, did he abduct her? Was she being held hostage? That would explain why her remains weren't found in the fire.
Police must find Charlie Wilkinson as soon as possible. Luckily, one of the Rains County deputies knows the 18-year-old.
The chief deputy was able to determine that Charlie Wilkinson was a friend of his son's, and he knew where he lived.
Apparently, Charlie had been living with a friend in their trailer about a mile from the Caffey house.
When deputies arrive at the trailer, they find the front door unlocked.
It was trash-ridden, unkept, clothes everywhere, dirty dishes, things of that nature.
With his gun drawn, one of the deputies slowly approaches the bedroom at the back of the trailer.
They went in and were able to find Charlie on a mattress on the floor. He was asleep at the time they entered, and they observed that there was a handgun laying on the floor right next to the mattress. And as they woke Charlie up, he initially made a move towards the weapon, and he was advised that that would be a very bad idea.
The deputies take Charlie into custody without incident. But Charlie denies knowing anything about the murders of the Caffey family or where Erin Caffey might be.
When he was asked about his whereabouts the night before, he said he'd been home all night. And when he was advised that there was a fire and Terry Caffey had been shot, and he kept repeating he didn't know anything, he was home all night.
Authorities obtain a warrant and search the trailer for evidence.
When we executed a search warrant, we discovered his boots with what appeared to be bloodstains on the boots. Those were also taken in as evidence. We discovered several .22 shell casings. There was a box of .22 ammunition, and we also found a used condom. All of this was tagged and classified as evidence.
When one of the deputies starts to rummage through what appears to be a pile of clothes on the floor, he makes an alarming discovery.
He saw a little movement in a pile of clothes, thought he saw a pair of eyes, startled him. He drew his weapon and then started pulling some clothes out and found Erin.
Coming up, police uncover a harrowing tale of kidnapping and murder.
She described ninjas with swords took her out of the house.
And a shocking accusation upends the entire investigation.
The only way they could...
Deputies have taken 18-year-old Charlie Wilkinson into custody for the deadly attack on the family of his ex-girlfriend, 16-year-old Erin Caffey. Inside Charlie's home, authorities are relieved to find Erin alive and largely unharmed.
The authorities are operating under the assumption that Erin had been a hostage who had been kidnapped by her ex after he killed her family.
She asked where she was, seemed disoriented, didn't know what was going on or where she was, how she got there. We determined that based on her condition, we would call an ambulance and have her sent to the hospital to be examined.
When Erin arrives at the hospital, she appears to still be in shock. Investigators ask her what she...
Her home against her will.
She described waking up in the middle of the night at home in her house, the house full of smoke, and two figures dressed in all black that she described as black ninjas took her out of the house.
They can lay you down and just stay down, face down.
Get down and stay down, face down. And what did they have?
They had two swords.
Two swords. Did you see any guns?
No, just two big old swords.
Did you hear any gunshots?
She did what they said. She said because she was scared.
Did you recognize their voices, these guys' voices? Do you know who it was?
She indicated that she might have been drugged.
That's the last thing I really remember until this morning, I guess, when the cops woke me up and I couldn't even remember where I was.
When police tell Erin that her mom and brothers had passed away, she appears devastated. But she is relieved to learn her father has survived.
Terry Caffey had been taken to the hospital in Tyler, which was about an hour away from where Erin was. We were authorized to transport Erin to the hospital in Tyler to see her dad.
When her father realized Erin is still alive, he's overjoyed. He's lost his wife and his two youngest children, but at least his oldest, Erin, is still safe.
Back at the sheriff's station, Charlie Wilkinson continues to deny knowing anything about the murders or kidnapping Erin.
So what happened to Miss Kathy?
But when detectives reveal that they had found Erin at the same trailer where Charlie had been arrested, the 18-year-old finally cracks.
We're here to hear your side of the story. Okay? Did you take her out of the house? Well, how did she get where you were? She got in the car.
Charlie claims that he never kidnapped Erin, that she went with him willingly. She wasn't drugged, she wasn't held against her will, she went with him of her own accord.
Charlie also confesses that he was involved in the attack on the Caffey family, but he claims he wasn't the mastermind.
I was drinking coffee yesterday. Just over the fact that their parents said that she really not to see me at all. I was not talking. I was going to do nothing. I thought it was just tell her to run away for a year and a half. And she come back up when she's 18. Right. She said no. I'm sorry, could you say that again for me? She said, no, I'm not.
When I was interviewing Charlie Wilkinson and that came out, it was, to say the least, shocking. He began to tell us that when this all was in the planning stages, Charlie's suggestion was that they just run away and be together. Erin's reply was, according to Charlie, that wouldn't be any good because they would just seek them out and find them. And the only way they could be together was for the whole family to be killed.
Once Erin convinced him they had no other option, Charlie tells police that they began planning her family's murders. To help commit the killings, Charlie had recruited his close friend, 19-year-old Charles Wade.
Okay. When you brought it to him, what was his reaction? What did he say? It's okay. Just okay. I'm not going helping you kill people.
They had promised Charles $2,000 that they believed was in the house. And that was his motivation for being involved.
Charlie also reveals that Charles Wade's 18-year-old girlfriend, Bobby Johnson, was also drafted into the murder conspiracy.
Charles Wade convinced his girlfriend, Bobby Johnson, to be their getaway driver, and her job was to wait outside of the house while Charlie and Charles went in and murdered the entire Caffey family.
Charlie tells investigators that just before 2:30 a.m. on March 1st, he, Charles, and Bobby parked down the street from the Caffey house, per Erin's instructions.
Erin was inside the house with her family waiting for them to go to bed. Once everyone was asleep, she snuck out to meet Charlie and his friends.
Erin came out of the house and walked down the road, got in the car with them, and started coming up with a game plan as to how this was going to transpire. The initial plan was just mother and father had to die. And then Wade brought up that they needed to kill the kids too because they would talk, which everybody agreed to.
What did Erin say about her brother didn't kill him? Because she looked up at me and Charles and she goes, I don't care, just do what you gotta do.
With their plan set, Bobby and Erin waited in the car while Charlie and Charles made their way to the house.
One of the things that Wilkinson stated to us was they were armed with the .22 semi-automatic pistol and they had a couple of swords with them. They busted into the master bedroom and started shooting. Wilkinson initially had the pistol and he was firing at both Penny and Terry, and at some point the gun jammed or misfired, and Wade decided to use the sword and almost decapitated Penny with the sword.
After attacking Erin's parents, the killers found her younger brothers upstairs. After the killings, Charlie and Charles rummaged through the house looking for any cash or valuables before setting the house on fire.
He just haphazardly went through the house setting things on fire with a lighter.
With the deed done, they headed back to the car where Erin Caffey and Bobby Johnson were waiting.
They leave the area in a state of somewhat excitement, adrenaline pumping, excited, and Wilkinson made the statement that Erin's comment was, "Holy shit, that's awesome," as the house is starting to become fully engulfed in flames.
Charlie tells police that Charles dropped him and Erin off at the trailer and disposed of the swords and other evidence in a nearby creek.
They dropped Erin and Charlie off, and Bobby and Charles left the area. Wilkinson described that when they went inside, they laid down on the mattress, had sex, and went to sleep. Our thoughts were that here they had just murdered 4 people, and they go home and have sex. That is one of the cruelest and most cold things that I have ever heard in my life.
Let me ask you a question. When you went in there shooting at Mom and Dad, what were your intentions? What were you intending to do? I guess I was attempting to kill him. Because I thought I wasn't. Are you? Is she worth all this?
Following his confession, police charged Charlie Wilkinson with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. They also notified the deputies escorting Erin, who was on her way to see her father.
We had just left the hospital. We weren't that far out, and the phone rang. That's when we found out that she was a suspect. We got her out of the car. She just turned around and put her hands behind her back. I don't recall her saying anything. There was no resistance. There was no defense. There was no, I didn't do this.
Coming up, prosecutors face a tough decision in court.
He could not forgive Erin without forgiving the others who were involved.
I didn't believe it. That can't happen. That can't.
Wilkinson has admitted to recruiting friends Charles Wade and Bobby Johnson to help him kill the family of his girlfriend, Erin Caffey. But he claims that Erin was the mastermind behind it all.
This was being done strictly for Erin and initiated by Erin.
With Charlie and Erin already in custody, detectives redirect their focus on finding the alleged co-conspirators.
We started looking for Charles Wade and Bobby Johnson. Charles Wade was located in Rains County. He had just dropped Bobby Johnson off at her employment at a restaurant and was driving her car, and he was stopped and taken into custody. Deputies then proceeded to the restaurant and asked Miss Johnson to come to the sheriff's office that we needed to speak with her.
Once they learned Charlie Wilkinson has confessed, both Charles Wade and Bobby Johnson confessed to their roles in the crime.
I need to know what happened last night. I need to know every detail without leaving anything out or trying to protect anybody. Okay? Yes, sir.
It was very matter of fact. He told us he did it strictly for the money. In essence, it was just like a job to him. No emotions attached.
And you agreed to go along with this?
I was talking about having quite a bit of money in it. Right now, I'm extremely financially strapped.
I understand. This is a way to make a quick buck, make a few bucks. Just be straight with me. I'm not trying to
be straight with you. Yes, that's what I was looking at it as.
When we interviewed Bobby Johnson, she just fell apart. She just started crying and giving us all the details of the parts that she knew of.
Both Bobby and Charles reiterate that Erin was the driving force behind the murders, all because she wanted to be with Charlie.
I heard her say that she wanted him to get rid of her parents. I was trying to talk her out of it and Charles out of it, but they weren't listening.
Trying to talk her out of what?
Trying to kill her parents.
This entire case revolved around Erin. In effect, she was told, no, you can't see Charlie anymore, period. And her reaction was one of, I will do what I want, I will show you. And she carried out her plan to eliminate her family, to basically show them, I will do what I want.
That was my best friend, and I trusted her with everything. And so thinking about her doing anything like that was not just mind-blowing, it was, that can't happen. That can't be her.
When Terry Caffey finds out his daughter was behind the murders, he has a difficult time accepting the news.
Terry was very angry, discouraged, and overwhelmed all at the same time.
Can you imagine? She's the one that put this all together. She wanted us dead.
All 4 teens are charged with 3 counts of capital murder.
At any point, any one of them could have stopped it, and nobody did.
Prosecutors announced their intention to pursue the death penalty against Charlie Wilkinson and Charles Wade. But as the trial date nears, Terry Caffey requests they take the death penalty off the table.
Terry wanted to forgive Erin because he knew that she was involved at some level, but he knew that he could not forgive Erin without forgiving the others who were involved.
In November 2008, prosecutors reach a deal with Charlie Wilkinson and Charles Wade. They both plead guilty to capital murder and accept sentences of life in prison without parole.
They will die in prison. Charlie and Charles, they'll never get out. So every day that they sit in their cell, they will think of what they did to Penny and her 2 sons.
Bobby Johnson also pleads guilty to murder and is sentenced to 40 years in prison. In January 2009, Aaron Caffey pleads guilty and is sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years.
We did have her emancipated to be tried as an adult, but since she was, in fact, still 16, she was not eligible to receive the death penalty, nor was she eligible to receive life without parole for a capital conviction in the state of Texas.
At her sentencing hearing, Erin admits her role as co-conspirator in her family's murders, but she insists she wasn't the mastermind behind the crime.
Erin says it was Charlie who convinced her that the only way for them to be together was killing her parents. And she was so in love with him and under his influence that she agreed to go along with it.
For those closest to the case, the outcome is difficult to accept.
Terry goes and visits Erin and maintains a relationship with her, and that's his choice to make, to stand by her. And honestly, I support him in that. If your whole family was brutally murdered in front of you, you need something to cope and you need something to hold on to. And if Erin is that for Terry, I completely understand that.
They were a young military couple starting a new life together.
When his son was born, that was the most exciting day of his life.
He was so in love with her and everything was devoted to her.
But their domestic bliss is torn apart by a hail of gunfire.
He had been shot at least one time in the head.
She had blood all over, crying and hollering, and I just couldn't figure out what happened.
Is this a random act of violence or something more sinister?
His stepbrother had been involved in some robbery. So you think it was targeted?
The search for the truth will lead investigators down a dark road and reveal a conspiracy born out of obsession and lust.
He was so in love with her that he was proud of what he did.
I got myself mixed up in something I didn't think would be like this.
I guess they thought they were going to live happily ever after.
p.m. on December 31st, 2018. As people gather to ring in the new year, police receive a frantic 911 call.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
I need help. My husband was shot. I need help.
2 different police units from St. Joseph Township arrived almost simultaneously with the Medic 1 personnel, the ambulance, and the paramedics.
First responders find 21-year-old Kamaya Hassel cradling the unconscious body of her husband, Tyrone.
Let us get in there, hon, okay?
Okay.
He had been shot at least one time in the head. There was blood spread around the ground and also on the side of the pickup truck.
Do you have any idea what happened here? No, he just brought us something to eat. Okay. So we sit on the couch eating, and then I just heard gunshots.
Kamaya tells them that she and Tyrone were in town visiting family for the holidays, and he just returned home from a New Year's Eve party.
They were staying with Tyrone's father.
What did he get shot at?
Who is it? Do you know who he is?
He'd been shot in the driveway of the residence.
There were pools of blood on the concrete. He had been shot in the head and the neck, and I believe upper arm.
I knew it was not good. Although Medic 1 did say they had a pulse.
As paramedics fight to save Tyrone's life, both his loved ones and police are left with more questions than answers.
I know this is messed up. We got to get you guys out of here so we can secure this scene, okay? We got to collect some evidence and find out what the hell's going on here, okay?
Who had born and raised in Benton Harbor? His parents divorced when he was 10 years old, but Tyrone remained close with both of them. Instead of one family, he grew up with 2.
His mother had 2 other kids that was not mine. And then when I got married to my wife, we added on 3 other brothers. It's a pretty big family, and everybody looked up to him.
He was a little firecracker. He was always on the go, but never sit down. He always wanted to do things, so I knew that he was going to be something, you know.
In high school, Tyrone quickly set himself apart from his other classmates. He was both an honor student and star baseball player with ambitions of playing in college.
Everything he put his mind to, he fully applied himself. In baseball, his coach would tell you he was an all-around player. First base, shortstop, outfielder, even as a pitcher. He actually earned himself an honors scholarship.
Once Tyrone got to college, however, his priorities changed. Baseball may have been his first love, but he soon discovered a different calling.
One day he called me from college and was like, "Ma, I think I'm gonna go to the Army." He actually told me he wanted to go for his country. He was going as a mechanical engineer. So I was like, oh, okay. He was like, I'm gonna be fixing tanks and stuff like that. I was like, well, I'm cool with it if you talk to your dad.
When he first enlisted, I was pretty scared. You know, your kid going to the Army, the first thing you think of is, oh, he might go to war and you might not get him back. But after he was in, I went to the graduation from basic, and watching him walk the field, I was pretty proud.
Tyrone was stationed at Fort Carson in El Paso County, Colorado. It was there he met the young woman who'd become his wife.
Kamaya was also, serving in the military in the same unit.
They met in basic training. Him and his friends, they were going out, I guess for the weekend or whatever. And he just happened to bump into her.
She's from the Georgia-Atlanta area, pretty normal childhood by all accounts. She was, a good student. She was successful, joined the Army after high school. All the soldiers would talk about how in love Sergeant Hassel was with Kamaya. He was so in love with her, and everything was devoted to her.
Kamaya made a good impression on Tyrone's family as well.
She ended up calling me Mom right off top. Every time I called, I always told her I love her. I love you too. It was just this thing about her. She was very, very sweet.
After nearly a year of dating, Tyrone and Kamaya got married. The couple were soon restationed together to Fort Stewart, Georgia, where Tyrone was promoted to the rank of sergeant. Not long after the move, the newlyweds had even more exciting news to share.
He called me so happy. And he was like, I got some good news. And I was like, what's going on? He was like, you're going to be a grandmother. When his son was born, it meant everything to him. It was like that was the most exciting day of his life.
Tyrone used the money from his recent promotion to buy a house for his family close to the base. But before they had a chance to settle into their new home, duty called once again.
The baby was about to turn 1 when he went to Korea. They both got deployed. He went first, and she went second.
Me and my husband kept him when they were deployed. And it was like every day, no matter what, he would FaceTime him at least twice just to see him and talk to him.
Both Tyrone and Kamaya returned home a year later in October of 2018. Tyrone in particular seemed determined to make up the time he'd lost with his young family.
He was making sure that they had everything, that his family needed.
He knew what it was like to come up with not everything. He just had that mind state to do better.
He's taking care of his family. He's an inspiration to everybody.
That Christmas, Tyrone, Kamaya, and their baby traveled to Michigan to visit his family for the holidays. But what should have been a joyous occasion soon becomes a nightmare.
We received a 911 call of a shooting on Colfax involving a man down.
Man, we're going to have to get him on this cot, okay?
Upon arriving at the scene, paramedics were getting ready to load him up on a cot at that time.
Kamaya was extremely upset. She actually tried to get into the back of the ambulance with him.
Hey, back up!
I actually had to grab her and pull her away.
It was at that point that I knew that personally, being a military vet, that I wanted to do everything that I could to figure out what happened to Sergeant Hassel.
Coming up, investigators make a discovery that suggests the shooter may be hiding out nearby.
We located a footwear impression. It appeared to us that an individual must have ran through that area.
And Tyrone is rushed into emergency surgery as his loved ones begin gathering at the hospital.
I said, please.
23-year-old Tyrone Hassel has been gunned down outside his father's house on New Year's Eve. And police are determined to find out who did it.
Man, I just couldn't figure out what happened.
Do you live here, bud?
I live here.
Okay, what's your name?
My grandson is probably in there by himself. What the happened? He don't even live here. He lives in Georgia. He's in the army. He don't even live here. The only thing I can do was just stay back and let them people work, because I don't know what to do.
As paramedics rush Sergeant Hassel to the hospital, detectives begin processing the scene for clues.
There's two.
We located 5 spent shell casings and 1 spent bullet that appeared to have went through Sergeant Hassel, as it contained some blood evidence upon it. Based on the evidence at the scene, the shell casings and the spent bullet, that would indicate to us that it was a 9mm semi-automatic pistol that was involved.
Meanwhile, K-9 units search the neighborhood for signs of the shooter.
The K-9 handler immediately did a K-9 track. You want to do it as soon as you can while it's still fresh.
He got his dog out, ran a track on what he felt was a really strong scent.
It went to a northwest direction, crossed over into Girard Street, and then it just stopped in the middle of the driveway. The track just stopped there.
So we felt there was a car parked there that a suspect possibly got into.
But investigators do find one more piece of evidence the assailant may have left behind.
We located a footwear impression that was to the west of the truck and west of the garage. It appeared to us that an individual must have ran through that area, as it had been raining most of the night on and off, and it was a very fresh print. So we poured a plaster cast of that impression to be sent to the crime lab for further testing.
Back at the crime scene, Kamaya holds her and Tyrone's infant son as detectives ask her about the events that led up to the shooting.
When he went outside, was there anybody else that went with him that you know of?
He just came and dropped the place off, and then he was going back up.
Kamaya and Tyrone and their baby were staying with Tyrone's father, and on this particular night, New Year's Eve, Tyrone had gone to a gathering at another location in Benton Harbor.
We had a small gathering for New Year's. It was just family, and we was cooking.
Tyrone's stepmother was on duty as a nurse that night, so Kamaya had been left home alone with the baby. Tyrone had called her around 11 p.m. to say he was coming back to bring her a plate of food from the party.
She stated that he had arrived home, brought in the 2 plates of food, basically sat him down, said he was going to head back to the party, walked out the door a few minutes later.
He just brought us something to eat.
Okay.
We were sitting on the couch eating, and then I just heard gunshots.
Okay.
And I ran outside and he was laying on the car.
She said she observed Tyrone on the ground next to the truck.
Kamaya says she immediately called 911 and administered first aid. She also says she didn't get a glimpse of the shooter.
I asked Kamaya if Tyrone had any problems or any issues while they were here in Benton Harbor visiting, or if he had any enemies. And Kamaya basically indicated that there were no people that she knew of that would want to hurt Tyrone.
I don't think he was beefing with anybody. He was just at his friend's house. He was at the family's house, and then he came here.
Do you know who shot him?
No.
Authorities release Kamaya so she can head to the hospital to be with Tyrone. Next, they turn their attention to other family members gathering at the scene.
I asked Tyrone Jr. if he had any idea what may have happened to his son, or if he had any problems that he was aware of. Tyrone Jr. didn't know of anything.
The home is a safe haven. It was like I spent my entire life protecting my son. And I couldn't protect him from this.
It's possible Tyrone had been the victim of a random armed robbery.
They either knew who he was or it's a robbery gone bad, based on what I'm seeing.
Because he's doing damn good to himself.
Yeah.
I wonder if they say he got any cash in his pocket, because I know I just saw him put some money out.
But detectives realize there are several problems with the robbery theory.
St. Joe Township, where the incident occurred, is mostly a bedroom community. In the 34 years that I've been with the township, we were fortunate only to have 6 homicides during that time.
Nothing was taken from Sergeant Hassel. His wallet was still there with lots of money in it. His cell phone was still there. His truck and the keys were right there.
As news of the shooting begins to spread, doctors are rushing Tyrone into emergency surgery.
Just as I was coming around the corner, he was coming around and I could see the blood. The only thing I could think was like, God, please, no. Don't let this happen. I could see like his eyes partially opened and I said, please tell me, that he gonna be okay.
Doctors do everything they can to save the 23-year-old soldier.
The doctor came out and he tried to hug me and he was like, he was already gone. I just sat there and cried and cried. And then one of my friends, she said that his wife is here. I walked toward her and I grabbed the front of her and I'm like, Kamaya, what happened? Please tell me what happened. And she just dropped her head and she said, I don't know.
Authorities are immediately notified of Tyrone's passing.
So we decided to activate the homicide task force to track down leads.
All of us were scared because we still didn't know what happened.
Coming up, the hunt for Tyrone's killer is turned upside down when police get word of another shooting.
First thought, everybody, of course, is wondering, are these related? Are they connected?
Michigan are trying to determine who shot and killed 23-year-old Tyrone Hassel, a sergeant in the U.S. Army, home on leave for the holidays. But just a few hours into the investigation, police received word of a second shooting in the area.
There was a shooting on Apple Street. I believe it was approximately 5:30 in the morning.
The Apple Street location and Tyrone's residence are approximately.
The community want to know, is there someone out there randomly shooting people?
Officers head immediately to the second location. But this latest shooting appears to be the result of a fight between 2 guests at a New Year's Eve party and unrelated to the murder of Tyrone Hassel.
It was developed through witness statements and video statements that actually was separate cases.
We were able to rule out the connection with that shooting because the people alleged to have shot the victim had a whole different vendetta against that individual. There was nothing that tied Tyrone to that shooting. It didn't appear that he had ever been at the party.
Homicide detectives head back to the neighborhood where Tyrone had been killed. They go door to door, asking neighbors if they saw anything suspicious prior to the shooting.
Many of the homes within several blocks of that neighborhood are people who've lived there for a long time. A lot of the neighbors know each other.
Hey, how are you? We made contact with the close neighbors the following morning, right around the corner from the Hassel's residence. They had seen a dark color, newer vehicle backed up into the driveway across the street.
They felt that the vehicle was very suspicious due to the fact that the house was listed for sale. There was nobody living in the house.
He stepped out of his car and started walking. And I watched him, and he went and turned left.
Okay. Did you hear anything?
Gunshots.
A short time later, we saw someone turn to the vehicle and speed out of there.
The night of the incident, the K-9 officer tracked right to that driveway, and that's where his track stopped. So it all kind of tied together with what they saw, what the K-9 tracked to, as, yeah, that was probably our car.
Unfortunately, the witness isn't able to give a clear description of the person he saw, leaving detectives in the dark as to who the mysterious shooter might be. And with no other clear leads to follow, police aren't sure where to turn next. In the meantime, Kamaya and Tyrone's family continue to grieve.
On January the 3rd, it was Kamaya's birthday. So we end up having a candlelight visual for him at his father's home. And her mom came, her sister came.
Right then, she needed us because she just lost a person that she felt like he took care of everything. And, you know, we needed to be there for her.
As Tyrone's family mourns his loss, they continue to work with police, providing information on Tyrone's personal life that might benefit the investigation. And detectives soon learn of a troubling incident involving one of Tyrone's family members that might be related to his murder.
Tyrone's stepbrother had been involved in some robbery, possibly. He had been accused of stealing a cell phone out of somebody's car.
Police learned that Tyrone's stepbrother had recently attracted the attention of some threatening individuals.
So you think it was targeted? You think was the target? Yeah. I'll be honest with you, that's what we're thinking. I mean, that's, you know, your son ain't got no beef with nobody. There ain't no reason for anybody here to be after him.
Investigators can't help but wonder if Tyrone's killer had intended to harm his stepbrother instead.
Was it a case of mistaken identity? Was the shooting meant for him?
We were thinking maybe that he'd robbed the wrong person, that, you know, was retaliating.
Police follow up on the theory by bringing Tyrone's stepbrother in for questioning.
We were able to actually sit down with Tyrone's stepbrother and interview him. We talked to him about his involvement in some of these robberies, and he denied anything like that would have tied him to any reason for the shooting. We wanted to make sure that there was not any beef related to the stolen cell phone. We talked to that individual who was actually determined to be out of town at the time the shooting occurred. And he said that he had no hard feelings. He was able to get his cell phone back with Tyrone's stepbrother, and they worked out a deal.
It's another dead end.
We were basically running out of leads. We had interviewed a lot of people around Benton Harbor, and we were not coming up with any reason that would have gotten Tyrone in that situation.
The more the time went on, you know, the more you get worried about it not being solved.
Then, 10 days into the investigation, detectives receive a tip via an unexpected phone call.
On January 10th, they received this shocking phone call from Georgia, of all places.
We got a tip from this female in Georgia who was somewhere around the Fort Stewart Army base.
This anonymous caller told the police that they needed to look at Kamaya. They thought that she had been involved with another soldier other than her husband.
The soldier accused of having an affair with Kamaya Hassel is named Jeremy Cuellar.
She said that she knew that Jeremy Cuellar and Kamaya Hassel were involved in a relationship, and that she suspected that Jeremy Cuellar had killed Tyrone.
Coming up, police uncover a disturbing conspiracy.
He had told him, Sergeant Hassel, he's got to go.
And detectives work quickly to apprehend an armed suspect. Chasing down several dead ends, investigators have finally gotten a breakthrough in the murder of Sergeant Tyrone Hassel. According to an anonymous caller, Tyrone's wife Kamaya has been having an affair with a fellow soldier named Jeremy Cuellar.
This was the first time that we had heard of anyone other than somebody around Benton Harbor that had been involved in the shooting. So we started looking at Kamaya and Jeremy.
To gather more information on the alleged couple, police first questioned two members of Kamaya's unit at her base in Georgia. The soldiers confirm that Kamaya had indeed been having an affair with Jeremy Cuellar behind her husband's back.
Jeremy married at a younger age, graduated high school, stayed out of trouble, didn't get into trouble with the law or anything, worked some odd jobs before he went into the military.
There was a lot of talk about people who had seen them together. The base in South Korea was not huge. Each different unit or platoon would have separate living barracks, and they might be 4, 5, 6 blocks away from each other. People talked about how they'd seen them getting out of taxis together, going out at nightclubs together. More than one person had stated that they'd seen them in a bedroom together with the door closed.
Detectives learn that Jeremy is also married, and that it's clear Jeremy and Kamaya had kept their affair a secret from both of their spouses.
During their time in Korea, Kamaya and Jeremy were having an intimate romantic relationship together.
But one witness claims that Jeremy seemed to develop an unhealthy obsession with Kamaya.
Jeremy told him prior to this in Korea that he's got to go, meaning that Sergeant Hassel's got to go.
When news broke that Sergeant Hassel had been killed, Jeremy had told the same fellow soldier that he was the one who pulled the trigger.
Jeremy Cuellar had returned to Fort Stewart, Georgia on January 4th, and on the morning of the 8th, they had a morning briefing about how one of their own in the platoon, Sergeant Tyrone Hassel III, had died. That morning, outside of the flagpole, Jeremy Cuellar had come up to him and told him that it was done, that he did what he had to do. He provided a lot of detail about what had happened, that he had gone from Chicago to St. Joseph, Benton Harbor, and had been staking out the place.
He made a statement to this individual that after he'd shot him in the driveway, he walked up over him and confirmed the kill, meaning he shot him one more time to assure that Sergeant Hassel was deceased.
Investigators quickly obtain a warrant for Jeremy's arrest. Within hours, local law enforcement surrounds his house in Hinesville, Georgia.
I was communicating with the Army CID and also Liberty County, Georgia Sheriff Department. They were just waiting for the word go for me to go get him.
He had just gotten out of the shower. He had a towel and flip-flops on, and they took him into custody just like that. Didn't even allow him to go get shoes.
Jeremy refuses to talk, but a search of his house turns up plenty of evidence.
There was a hoodie, there was a gun magazine, and then there was also a purchase agreement of 2 guns.
Back in October and December of 2018, Jeremy Cuellar purchased 2 pistols from another person in the Army. He bought a .40 caliber Glock, and he bought a 9mm Ruger. We knew the shell casings at the scene were all 9mm.
I sent all the shell casings there, which they ran tests on to assure they were all fired from the same gun.
Police find more evidence in Jeremy's vehicle.
As far as his vehicle, they towed it to their sheriff's department that night, found items of evidence in there, a receipt from a clothing store and also one from a Walmart where there's a GPS unit bought.
Most people aren't relying on handheld GPS devices very much these days. It became a little bit more incriminating, in my opinion, when you pay cash for one, and you do so right before you're about to make trips back and forth from Chicago to Benton Harbor, where you're going to murder someone.
But had Jeremy acted alone? With evidence now connecting her to Jeremy Cuellar, homicide detectives in Michigan ask Kamaya to come in for another interview to see what she has to say about the affair.
Kamaya was taken to the police station and questioned, and she denied any involvement in this whatsoever.
She originally stated, hey, Jeremy Cuellar is just a guy I work with on base. He's in the same unit, we do the same job.
She was denying the entire thing. They had no sexual relationship, there was nothing more.
But when she's confronted with the testimony from her fellow soldiers, Kamaya's story suddenly changes.
I told her I didn't believe her. I said, if you want to get out in front of this This is the time to do it. Explain what your involvement was, how much you knew.
She ended up confessing that she was involved with Jeremy.
Kamaya tells police that her marriage to Tyrone wasn't as happy as it seemed on the outside. She claims they'd been having problems since their son was born, before they were both deployed to Korea.
She had become increasingly unhappy with Tyrone.
He wasn't necessarily a bad person, but she just didn't feel that she was wanted and appreciated. So she reached out to Jeremy.
I first asked her about this relationship when it started. She goes that it was back in Korea. It started in Korea. And they worked together, very closely together. And it sounded like they both started to complain. You know, it's the typical day. We have an argument with our spouse. So you go to work and you complain.
Kamaya says Jeremy started off as her confidant, and as they spent more time together, the connection between Kamaya and Jeremy grew until they both gave in to their desires.
She developed what turned into be an intimate relationship with Jeremy Cuellar in Korea.
That bond grew and grew, and then it got to the point where he was so in love with Kamaya.
But Kamaya insists their relationship came to mean much more to Jeremy. She claims that one night in Korea, while they were in bed together, Jeremy told her he was planning to get rid of her husband once all three were back home in the U.S.
She said, "What do you mean? When we get back in October, I'll get a gun. I'll take care of it for us."
She said that she didn't think that Jeremy was serious and that she didn't try and stop him because she, quote, didn't want him to be mad at her.
They were deployed back to the States in October, down to Fort Stewart, Georgia, where Jeremy and Kamaya continued to be romantically involved.
Shortly after their return, however, Kamaya quickly realized that Jeremy fully intended to follow through with his threat to her husband.
Jeremy is from Chicago. He left the base. He was on leave over the holidays.
Kamaya admitted that Jeremy would drive from Chicago to Benton Harbor, which is about an hour and 30 minutes on the highway, basically to case, and determine a spot to park his vehicle and conspire to kill Tyrone.
But if Kamaya knew her lover had killed Tyrone, why hadn't she told the police until now?
She said that she was afraid of Jeremy Cuellar. She described him as a firecracker, someone with a temper.
She also swears she had nothing to do with the murder of her husband, but police don't believe her.
Kamaya Hassel was charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder.
On January 12, 2019, Sergeant Tyrone Hassel is laid to rest. But as his family says their goodbyes, they learn the shocking news that Kamaya and her secret lover, Jeremy Cuellar, have both been charged with his murder.
My husband said, "I'm gonna give you the bad news. Kamaya did it." And when he said that, I remember just screaming like, no, no, no. The only thing I could just think of was like, this girl sat up in my house for the past 2 weeks, acting like she understood my pain. We loved you because he loved you. And you betrayed us.
But as the murder case heads toward trial, Kamaya and her attorneys make a shocking move that puts her conviction suddenly in doubt.
The defense was trying to put forth the idea that this was a forced confession, that Jeremy Cuellar did this all on his own.
Coming up, will Kamaya's attempt to retract her statement result in a mistrial?
There's always uncertainty with jury trials, no matter the strength of the evidence.
And a secret jailhouse recording finally reveals the full truth behind Tyrone Hassel's murder.
I got myself mixed up in something I didn't think would be like this. He was forcing me.
Kamaya Hassel has confessed that she knew her lover, Jeremy Cuellar, was going to kill her husband, Tyrone. But as her murder trial approaches, Kamaya's attorneys attempt to retract her statement. If successful, the move could exonerate Kamaya and make prosecuting Jeremy more difficult. Before the judge has a chance to make a ruling, however, Kamaya makes a critical error.
When Kamaya Hassel got booked into jail, the first person she called was her mother.
I knew what was happening with Tyrone.
When did all this come about?
It was planned in Korea. I got myself mixed up in something I didn't think would be like this. We planned it.
Y'all planned it?
He was forcing me, and I don't know.
Who was forcing you, Kamaya?
His name is Quay, because he wanted to be with me so that we could be together.
So now we got to not confess him once, we got to confess him twice.
But while it's obvious Kamaya helped conspire to kill Tyrone, it's not clear who was the true murder was Jeremy Cuellar's idea.
He is clearly involved in this. He's clearly responsible for this. But just because he's responsible does not mean Kamaya Hassel's involved. No. This is Mr. Cuellar's plan. This is his idea.
But prosecutors counter with evidence that suggests Kamaya was the driving force behind the crime.
We had actually searched Kamaya's phone for possible evidence regarding her involvement in this planning of the shooting, and we were able to find evidence of her and Jeremy communicating through Snapchat.
Snapchat has a reputation for somehow being more private or secure because of the disappearing nature or non-savable records of the messages that were sent back and forth.
Kamaya's data showed that she deleted her Snapchat account a few days before she was arrested, but Jeremy hadn't deleted his.
When we did search warrants for Snapchat, we could not get Kamaya's records, but we did get Jeremy's records. We were able to later piece up Kamaya's username and look at all the Snapchats going back and forth. When Kamaya Hassel and Jeremy Cuellar first started talking about this plan, it was over 6 months before the murder happened. They were stationed in Korea in February of 2018, and Kamaya Hassel and Jeremy Cuellar started to get into a romantic relationship around April, and it got to the point where Kamaya Hassel told Jeremy Cuellar, we can be together if my husband's out of the picture. He was so in love with Kamaya that he went along with whatever she wanted him to do.
And on New Year's Eve, Kamaya finally put her plan into action.
There was some urgency on Kamaya's part because she and Tyrone were going to be going back to Georgia on January 2nd.
She basically told Jeremy that she wanted this to happen before they left.
Shortly before 11 o'clock, Jeremy Cuellar had Snapchatted with her, hey, this isn't going to work tonight, I'm going to head back. She said, no, don't go back. He's coming home with food shortly. Get it done, now. She saw the opportunity, and she had Jeremy Cuellar sucked in. Jeremy is obviously responsible for the killing. He pulled the trigger, but she may as well have had her hand on that gun as well, because she let it happen.
On top of their scheme to get rid of Tyrone, Kamaya and Jeremy would also benefit from a sizable life insurance policy.
Kamaya was the one who was the named beneficiary under the service group life insurance.
Kamaya believed that if her husband was killed, she would have a large sum of money that was $500,000, and that was the price she put on her husband's life.
They were going to head back to Georgia, and they would receive the benefits for Tyrone's death, and I guess they thought they were going to live happily ever after.
Kamaya Hassel staged everything, and including the crime scene when the police arrived. She had to act the part that she was upset, obviously, about what happened, grieving over her husband who had just been shot.
On July 18th, 2019, the jury reaches their verdict.
I'm going to ask, sir, if you would please read in count 1 your verdict.
Guilty of first degree premeditated murder as aider or abettor.
Thank you. And as to count 2.
Guilty of conspiracy to commit first degree premeditated murder.
There's always uncertainty with jury trials, no matter the strength of the evidence. It's hard to convince 12 people of anything these days, much less 12 strangers. The evidence in this case was very strong, and I'm convinced that the jury got it right.
She was the mastermind behind the plan, and then she continually assisted him and gave him all the directions on how to complete the murder. So therefore, under the law for aiding and abetting, she is just as guilty as the principal who committed the crime.
The decision comes with a mandatory life sentence.
One thing that really struck me at Kamaya's sentencing is the fact that she had absolutely nothing to say to this man's family. It just struck me as very cold-hearted.
She actually helped to plan his funeral, all the time knowing that she took part and she was the one that caused this murder to happen.
Jeremy Cuellar's trial is set to begin the following month, but after Kamaya's conviction, he decides to take a plea agreement instead.
I saw no remorse from Kamaya at any point in court, but Jeremy, I believe, was remorseful. He said, "She played me. She totally played me."
It seemed that he just was encapsulated by Kamaya and this relationship and the hope that he had for something more.
I'm happy with her verdict and I'm happy with his sentencing, so I think justice did get served.
And as journalists, we're supposed to be unbiased and not get attached to these stories. But this is one that is just so heartbreaking. It's really hard not to at least open your heart a little bit to it. Because it didn't have to happen. None of it had to happen.
She just took something from me that I could never get back. You know, I would never be the same person.
He just was an awesome guy, an awesome kid. And, you know, as a parent, you want your kids to do right. You want them to be the best that they can be. He did that. You don't just see that every day, that a kid in your eyes grow up to be perfect. That's unusual. And it make me wonder, a lot of people say, I don't know if you heard the saying, the good die young.
A recent divorcee gets a second chance at love.
He showed me a side of how to love somebody, and I deserve the best in life. That's how he treated me.
But her hope for a new beginning is shattered by a horrific crime.
She started screaming, he's here, call 911.
They quickly find two bodies. They had to wonder, is she dead or is she a captive somewhere else?
What follows is a terrifying tale of abduction and revenge.
It's just an ultimate act of how dare she thinks that she can walk away from me. He thought, if I can't have you, then nobody will.
And a desperate race to save a woman at the hands of a deadly couple driven by rage.
They didn't know if she was alive. They didn't know if he would kill her.
I was pretty positive I was never going to see my mom again.
I had two guns right there pointing at me.
New Hampshire and Maine, the town of Portsmouth is home to the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard and hundreds of military families. Deborah Cimarella belonged to one of those families and spent most of her childhood moving from one port to the next.
We lived in Charleston from the time I was 9 till probably the time I was 12. And then we got stationed to Maine. Being in the military, you move around a lot.
In the summer of 1981, Deborah was fresh out of high school and thinking about where her future might take her next, when she met the man who'd change her life forever. His name was Stephen Brown.
I was at Prescott Park with my best friend, and he rode up on a motorcycle. We started talking, and I remember told me he was in the Marine Corps. He said he just got discharged. He was very charming, very loving. We were together ever since. I think we were both free-spirited. You know, we didn't have a care in the world. We were young. We were both 18, and we both liked to be on the motorcycle because we felt free. We started dating late June, early July. By September, we were pregnant with our son, not very long afterwards.
Before the baby's birth, Deborah and Stephen got married in a civil ceremony in January of 1982. But almost immediately after saying "I do," Deborah encountered a dark side to her husband.
We had just got married, and 2 days later, he says, "I now own you." That license of marriage means that I own you. It's my title to you. And he threw me across the room like a rag doll. I thought he was actually going to kill me that day. I'd never seen this type of behavior before, so I was very scared. Being 5 months pregnant, I thought I was going to lose the baby.
He wasn't a stable person, but he was able to put that side on hold, and he was able to hide that from her until after they were married.
But Stephen was able to convince Deborah his outburst was a one-time mistake.
Steve apologized and said it would never happen again. I thought it was just a phase he was going through. Maybe he was having a hard day at work or whatever. At that time, I didn't even know what domestic violence was.
The couple's son, Stephen Jr., was born in 1982. A daughter, Whitney, followed in 1987. The family eventually settled in Newfield, New York, where Stephen's parents lived.
He got a job with his dad. They deliver fuel oil and diesel and kerosene. I would say, job-wise, it was more stable.
For a while, it truly seemed like Stephen was a changed man. But it wasn't long before his dark side reemerged. Though Deborah did her best to take her children and leave Stephen when times got rough, he always found a way to persuade her to come home.
We know what often happens. The abuser begs and pleads and promises it'll be different this time. And we're all human. We all want to believe the best. We don't want to rip our families apart. And so she went back to him. And tragically and predictably, the abuse continued.
For 15 years, Deborah and her children endured Stephen's continued emotional and physical abuse.
You were always in constant fear of my dad. Anything could set him off, whether it was a cold dinner or forgetting to switch over laundry or not doing the dishes up to his standard.
Finally, in the fall of 1998, Deborah decided that she and her children weren't going to suffer any longer. Deborah's brother, Donald Woody Wood, agreed to drive down from Maine to rescue her.
My brother Donald and my dad both came to my rescue. They went and got my kids and got what they could for clothes, and then they got me at my work. I left my Toyota at the parking lot at work so he would think that I was at work all day.
Before she left, Deborah took the added step of obtaining an order of protection against her husband, hoping it would keep him from following her.
I had a plan in motion to escape him forever.
Deborah's brother Woody invited her and the kids to move in with him in rural Lebanon, Maine. Also staying at the home were Woody's girlfriend Linda and his best friend Chris Rouillard.
Chris was very much a gentleman, and he was always so willing to help other people in need.
When Deborah got a job in town as the night shift maid, Chris would drive her back and forth to work.
Chris and I carpooled. We both worked at the same time and got out at the same time, so I never had to ride home by myself. At that point, we just started connecting and, dating. He was just funny, and he showed me how to love somebody, and you don't have to be hurt or put down to be loved, and that I deserve the best in life. That's how he treated me.
As the months passed, Deborah finally decided to file for divorce and the sole custody of her children.
I remember Chris putting his arms around me and saying, "I got you. I'm not going to let anything happen to you." He was my Prince Charming, my knight shining armor.
I was part of a family where people were laughing and had dinner together and played board games. It was just a very different environment, and it took this huge weight off my shoulders, and I didn't realize how badly I wanted to feel happy and feel like I was loved.
For Deborah and her kids, everything was finally starting to feel right with the world. But that world would be turned upside down on March 29th, 1999. It all starts a little after 11:45 p.m. Deborah, Chris, and her children, along with her brother Woody and his girlfriend Linda, have all settled down for the night at Woody's home in Lebanon, Maine. But just before midnight, there's an unexpected knock at the door.
Donald Wood is the first one to answer the door.
A woman comes to the door claiming that she's having car trouble right down the street, and she's asking for help.
It's midnight and you're in Lebanon, Maine. He's more than willing to help. He goes out to look at what the issue is.
I don't think people remember back then that few of us had cell phones, and when we did have them, they typically didn't work out in the rural parts of the world. Then there's a woman stuck on the side of the road and needs help. Of course, people...
When Deborah's daughter Whitney answers, she's greeted by the same woman, this time asking for Chris Brouillard.
So I went and I knocked on Chris's bedroom door, and I was just like, there's a lady at the door. She said that Uncle Woody's helping her and he needs your help to fix her car. So he got dressed and he left with her.
15 minutes later, the woman returns a third time. This time, it's Deborah who answers the door.
I went to the door, and she had asked for the Blazer now to jumpstart her car.
It was at that point that my mom was like, something's not right here. Chris and Woody should be coming back. They wouldn't keep sending her here. What's going on?
So my instincts kicked in. Like, this person's up to no good. And I said, I'll be out in 5 minutes.
The woman heads back down the driveway in the dark, and Deborah goes inside to get her jacket and her keys.
Got the keys. I got in a Blazer. Backed out of the driveway.
She was barely out of the driveway when she came back screaming.
She was hitting the horn, screaming for them to call the police. She wanted them to know that something horrific was happening and they needed help.
Whitney and Linda rush to the window just in time to witness two shadowy figures descend on Deborah's SUV.
Two figures emerge from the woods. One of them looks like the woman, and she's holding a rifle. The other is a man who's holding a shotgun. The two smash their way into her Blazer, and they get inside and they take off into the night.
Coming up, police attempt to track down Deborah and her mysterious kidnappers.
I remember the marks in the dirt indicating that it had pulled in under some type of speed, and I remember seeing the window being broken.
Investigators believed at this point that they had taken off on the run.
And detectives make a gruesome discovery. From the York County Sheriff's Office are responding to the home of Deborah Brown, who has vanished after being lured out of her house by a strange woman claiming to have car trouble.
The last anyone saw of Deborah, two armed figures and motorist.
Authorities have started looking for the missing trio, hopeful they can find all three still alive. But those hopes are dashed when the search effort makes a disturbing discovery in the woods outside the house.
The York County Sheriff's Department quickly find two bodies. They find Donald Wood Jr. and Christopher Brouillard.
The bodies were maybe 15 feet off into the woods.
Both men have what appear to be blunt force wounds to their heads and stab wounds to their torsos.
Woody and Chris thought they were walking down the street to help a stranded motorist. Instead, they were lured out of their house one by one into a death trap.
There are no indications at the scene of what happened to Deborah or where she might be. But police make another ominous discovery a quarter of a mile down the road from the crime scene when they discovered Deborah's SUV.
I remember the marks in the dirt indicating that it had pulled in under some type of speed or was maneuvering at some type of speed, and I remember seeing the window being broken.
There were no signs of Deborah or her kidnappers, and no signs of where they had gone. So investigators believed at this point that they had put her into another vehicle and had taken off on the run.
But who took Deborah after murdering her brother and boyfriend? In the hope of getting some answers, detectives head back to the house to talk with their two eyewitnesses, Deborah's daughter Whitney and Woody's girlfriend Linda.
We found out very quickly that Chris and Woody were no longer with us. I overheard the talk of two bodies being recovered in the woods, and I knew who that was.
Linda and Whitney are understandably devastated at this point. Police explained to them that they had to describe the kidnappers if they were going to have any chance of finding Deborah.
Neither can identify the strange woman who had knocked on their door. But when asked who might want to kidnap her mother, Whitney believes she knows.
She was barely out of the driveway when she started screaming, he's here, call 911. I mean, she must have been screaming at the top of her lungs because the car wasn't right there and the windows weren't open because it was cold. But I could hear her clear as day saying, he's here, call 911.
Whitney believes he is her father, Stephen Brown.
Whitney explains to the police about her father and the abuse that he had inflicted upon them. He's a violent man, and they had fled to Maine to escape him.
Whitney also reveals that a recent custody dispute between her parents had caused more tension for the family.
The family court hearing was a week earlier on March 22nd. Deborah and the kids had to return to New York, and it was the first time they had been in the same room with him since they had fled.
At the hearing, Stephen had denied Deborah's claims of abuse and told the judge that his wife was mentally unstable.
This really abusive man could be a charmer and gave some apparently convincing testimony that, in fact, he had never abused her and she's trying to take his kids away from him. What perhaps saved the day was those kids themselves saying that they could not and would not live under the same roof as him.
My brother told the judge that if we had to go back to live with my dad, that he was going to kidnap me and take me to Canada so that we never had to see him again and we could be safe.
It's powerful when the children are saying not only do they not want to be under the same roof as him, that they will leave the country if they have to.
The judge had awarded full custody to Deborah, who returned to Maine with her children, convinced her trouble with Stephen was finally over. But just 7 days later, Deborah has been abducted, and her brother and boyfriend have been violently killed.
Police can't help but wonder, did losing custody of his kids trigger Stephen and set this all into motion?
But if Stephen Brown is the kidnapper, where had he taken Deborah? And who is the mystery woman helping him?
Both Linda and I had to meet with a sketch artist. We had to pick out, eyes and the shape of the face and the lips. And so they could put the picture out there to try and identify who the person was assisting my dad.
Detectives cast a wide net, sending the sketch, as well as descriptions of both Stephen and Deborah Brown, to law enforcement agencies across the Northeast. Authorities in New York quickly confirm that Stephen is not at his home in Newfield, New York.
We believe Stephen has just left the scene where he's murdered two men and he's abducted her. So time is pretty much of the essence.
Who knows where he was going? Could be heading south, heading north, heading to Mexico. Nobody knew where he was going. No one knew what his intentions were. And at that point, they had no idea what vehicle he was in. Deborah's life depended on them finding this guy.
Coming up, police identify a surprising new person of interest.
She comes into the station on a Monday and she says, "We're going to Maine."
And the search for Deborah and an alleged killer extends across state lines. It is underway for suspected kidnapper Stephen Brown and his unidentified female accomplice. Stephen's daughter has identified him in the abduction of his estranged wife, Deborah Brown, and the double murder of Deborah's brother, Donald Wood, and her boyfriend, Chris Brouillard.
Detectives have no idea where Stephen Brown is heading. Could be taking her back to New York. They could be heading up to Canada. The only thing they know for sure is that every moment she's with him, her life is in danger.
Hoping to attract leads, authorities release Stephen and Deborah Brown's images to local
people. This is simply getting as much information you can from the witnesses and reaching out to his friends and family, trying to track down where he might be.
At the same time, detectives try to identify Stephen's suspected female co-conspirator. In speaking with Stephen's friends, police learned that after Deborah left him, Stephen had found comfort in the arms of an old friend named Patricia Teeter.
Patricia Teeter had known Stephen since they were in high school together, and it sounds like she had always had a bit of a crush on him. She and Stephen had become pretty close when Deborah left him.
Detectives dig into Patricia Teeter's background and learn she is a single mother who works as a receptionist at a local radio station.
She was very people person oriented. So this job for her was an excellent position.
Patricia Teeter has 2 boys that she's mostly raising on her own. She has an estranged husband.
Pat loved the kids and she wanted to spend as much time with the kids as she could without anything getting in the way. But she did have her eyes set on Steve.
It's not clear how Stephen and Patricia reconnected, but she was there to be his shoulder to cry on. And to most people watching, it seemed that she wanted to be a little more than that.
When detectives reach out to Patricia's employer, they confirm she had left town with Stephen for a romantic weekend getaway.
She comes into the station on a Monday and she says, "Steve and I are going to go on a camping trip this next weekend." And I said, "Oh, that's neat. Whereabouts around here are you going to go camping?" "Oh, we're going to Maine."
Now police can't help but wonder if Stephen had to recruit this woman, Patricia, who was smitten with him, to help him with his crime. Somewhere along the line, this romantic camping trip in the woods seems to have devolved into a plot to kidnap Stephen's ex-wife.
But where are Stephen and Patricia taking Deborah? And what are their plans?
It was just my gut reaction that he was taking her home. He always made us feel like if he couldn't have us, that nobody could. And I can specifically remember him telling my mom that if she ever left him, he would kill her. And I honestly felt that he was taking her home to kill her.
At the same time, over 100 miles away in the backseat of a car passing through New Hampshire, Deborah Brown has the same terrifying thought as she recalls the moment her estranged husband had taken her captive.
I saw my ex-husband. Next thing I know, I had 2 guns right there pointing at me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die today. He came through the passenger side window and told me to drive. As soon as I drove out of the driveway, I saw that car with the hood up, that gold car, and I was forced into the back seat. And we headed 202 towards Rochester. I'm like, oh, this is not good. We're going to New York. And he's gonna kill me and throw me in a pond. That's all I could think of, because we had a pond by our house, and that's where he was gonna throw me. I have a fear of water and drowning, and he knew that, so he used that to his advantage. He was just gonna tie me with a brick so I wouldn't be able to come back up.
When Deborah asks Stephen about her brother and Chris, he lies and promises her that both men are just fine.
He told me they were tied up out behind the garage.
As they ride in the car, Patricia tries to convince Deborah she has nothing to fear from Stephen.
She said that he wasn't a bad guy, that she went to high school with him, she knew him, she's known him a long time, and that he's always been a great guy, and that I should come back to him because he loves me and he loves his kids and he would never hurt us, that I'm lying. And I just let it go one ear and out the other.
Patricia is droning on and on about how wonderful Stephen is and how misunderstood he is. And then the conversation gets weird.
She goes, so we're headed back home, just so you know. I'm like, ugh, great, my worst fear. She goes, and we're all gonna live happily ever after. We're both gonna be his wife now. I said, no, we're not. I am not gonna be your wife or his wife.
Eventually, Stephen takes over, trying to convince Deborah to give him another chance.
At some point, we pulled over. I don't know where we were, but he made me get in the front passenger seat and her in the back. He was being all nicey nice. He said, we're all just gonna live together, her kids and our two kids. We're all gonna live underneath the same roof and we're all gonna be one big happy family. And I repeated to him, over my dead body, I'm not coming back to you.
5 hours into her abduction, Deborah notices Stephen and Patricia's demeanors begin to shift.
At this point, the sun's starting to come up, and they're both getting really antsy. And I'm like, wow, this is really weird. Now they're getting antsy. Wonder what this is all about. They just felt like people were looking for them. So they said, oh, we have to get a hotel for a little while and hold up till dark.
Stephen gets off the highway in upstate New York and pulls into a motel parking lot. He sends Patricia inside and tells her to book 2 rooms next to each other. But Deborah's nightmare only gets worse once they're inside.
Steve sexually assaulted me 3 times. I remember taking showers in the hotel just to try to get him off me, but it just wasn't working.
While Deborah is being repeatedly assaulted, Patricia's in the room next door, relaxing, and realizes she's not gonna make her shift at the radio station. So she calls a friend to let her know that the camping trip is going longer than planned. At that point, her friend asks her what's going on. It's all over the news that this man is being sought for the murder of some people and the kidnapping of his wife, and they're looking for him. Where are you? Where is he? And she doesn't come right out and say it, but she apparently lets on to a friend that she thinks she recognizes the Albany, New York skyline.
That friend in turn called police immediately and said, hey, this is where they are.
It's not a precise location, but the police now know that they're holed up in a motel somewhere within sight of the Albany skyline. They just have to find the right motel and find it in time.
Coming up, detectives close in on Stephen and Patricia.
She pulls in and immediately spots the vehicle.
But will police be able to rescue Deborah before anyone else gets hurt?
They knew that Stephen Brown is incredibly dangerous. They didn't know if Patricia's alive.
They've just learned that double murder and kidnapping suspects, Stephen Brown and Patricia Teeter, are hiding out in a motel somewhere on the outskirts of Albany, New York.
State police now alert everyone in the Albany area. They believe that Stephen Brown, Patricia Teeter, and Deborah are somewhere in the area.
We received a teletype from State Police Ithaca, New York, saying that they had information from one of the people involved that they were in the Albany area at a motel. They could see a city and that she had seen a sign that said Albany, 1 mile. Knowing the area, I said, well, there's one of 2 hotels that they could be at.
Police also get information on Patricia Teeter's car, a 1996 Oldsmobile Achieva with New York plates.
A lodge, pulls in and immediately spots the vehicle. She confirms it's a 96 Olds Achieva. She then goes into the office and checks the names to people registered there and finds that there are 2 rooms registered under Patricia Teeter, and that there are at least 2 people in those 2 rooms.
That's actually when the police had probably the most difficult decision to make. They had to decide, do they storm in or do they stake out the room and wait for them to come out? They didn't know if Patricia's alive or dead. They didn't know if he would kill her if they stormed in. They knew that Stephen Brown is incredibly dangerous.
We formulate a plan. We then decide that it's time that we need to make entry because we have a kidnapped victim.
SWAT units from East Greenbush and the New York State Police quietly gather in the motel parking lot and coordinate an attack plan.
Since there's 2 rooms, we decide that East Greenbush Police will make an entry into the one room, the state police will take the other. At 5:48 that morning, we made a simultaneous dynamic entry into the rooms. When they entered the room, the East Greenbush team located a male and a female. Both those individuals were taken into custody. It was then later to be determined that was Stephen Brown and Deborah Brown. The state police entered the adjoining room and found Patricia Teeter in that room.
Deborah Brown is finally safe.
The police officer put me in a warm blanket, says, "We're gonna take you home."
But Deborah's dealt another devastating blow.
I remember them asking me if I knew where Chris and Donald were, and I said, yeah. He said they were tied up behind the garage of my brother's house. And they got really quiet. And they said, we have to break some news to you. I remember them telling me that they were both deceased. They had been gone from that moment that they pretty much walked out of the house. I was in total shock, I think, at that point when I found out that it really was true that they had both been brutally murdered. And I don't think I ever came to terms with it.
Back in Maine, Whitney and Linda are overjoyed to learn that Deborah is alive.
I was sleeping and I must have just heard somebody say something because I was shot out of bed and I was like, they found her. Oh my God, she's alive. Everything just got very hectic from there. Everybody was just crying and hugging and excited, and we just wanted to see her again.
When Maine State Police finally sit down with Stephen Brown, he's more than happy to go over every detail of his crime.
The first thing he tells investigators is that he didn't let Patricia know that the plan was to confront his ex-wife when they left New York. She thought they were going on a romantic camping trip.
Patty agrees readily, or did you have to talk her into it? This is back up in New York before you leave.
Patty didn't know anything about me cornering and talking to Debbie until actually we're here. So I sort of misled her. I'll admit it.
Even once he does tell her that he plans to confront his ex-wife and force her to talk to him in clear violation of the order of protection, she doesn't balk, she doesn't back out. She even helps him spy on the occupants of the house before they decide to make their move.
While Stephen doesn't deny killing Deborah's brother, Donald Wood, and her boyfriend, Chris Brouillard, he refuses to admit he arrived with murder in mind.
I said, we'll park before them. I'll have you go up to the door and have one of the guys on. I said, it'll probably be Donnie. Just strictly tell him your car is hooked up. I said, when he comes out, I'm going to knock him down the ground. I said, I'm going to knock him hard. You know, but I had full intentions. I mean, Donnie's not that big. I had full intentions of getting him to the ground quick, tying his hands, putting some duct tape on his mouth, whatever, and just pulling him right there inside the woods, talk to him, calming him down, tell him, say, look, all I want to do is talk to your sister. That's all I want to do.
Stephen Brown got Patricia Teeter to go knock on the door and claim that she had broken down in her car. And as a result of that, Deborah Brown's brother came out to assist this woman. Stephen Brown came out of the woods, hit him over the head with a pipe, and dragged him back into the woods.
Stephen says later that he came to and struggled, and Stephen only stabbed him then while Donald was struggling. From the beginning, that story was just difficult to square with reality.
Then Patricia Tita went back to the house at Steve Brown's urging, made up an excuse as to why the car was still having trouble. And Chris Briard, who was Deborah's boyfriend at the time, also came out to lend a hand to this woman. And Stephen Brown again came out of the woods.
I stuck that pipe in his back.
What did you say to him?
I told him to get down on his hands and knees. And I remember saying something. I said, "Are you by chance the one who's dating or seeing my wife?"
The investigators believe that his death was more violent, seemingly more personal. Clearly, he harbored a special anger and a special grudge and really wanted to hurt Chris worse than even Woody.
I didn't want any of this to happen. I mean, it already escalated too far. I mean, I was off the deep edge. I'll admit it right here. I was off the deep edge.
He had gone to Maine with an assault rifle, with a shotgun, with a handgun, with rope, with knives. And he picked up a lead pipe and swung it at their heads. It's hard to square his contention that he didn't really intend to hurt anybody, that he ever intended for this to go peacefully. It just boggles the imagination.
I don't know what his end game was. Did he somehow think that Deborah would rethink the years of abuse that she suffered? Or rethink, that she wanted to put her children back into that situation and that environment of abuse? Did he think that? Maybe somewhere in his brain, he rationalized that, yes, this is perfectly acceptable, and I think she will. I think as soon as she sees me, we're gonna rekindle that relationship.
I don't think he ever thought to the final step of the plan where he was going to be. It's just an ultimate act of how dare she think that she can walk away from me, and how dare she think that I don't have control over her. In the end, that's all it is that his mindset is, she can't do this to me.
Patricia Teeter's interrogation couldn't go any more differently.
She's not cuffed, she's sitting in a chair, she's like sitting on her legs, she's almost very relaxed, and she's in a state of denial that she knew actually what was going on.
So you knew he was not supposed to be doing what he was doing, and that you were helping him do it?
Well, yeah. But, I didn't do it with the intentions of anybody getting hurt or anything like that.
I mean, it's hard to comprehend that. As the violence happened, she went back to that house again and again.
You knew that she did not want to speak to him, and you knew that he was going to tie people up and hit them over the head and ropes and guns and knives, and you didn't think anyone was going to get hurt?
Well, maybe knocked out and stuff, but I didn't know it was going to be this.
So it was all right to knock people out, but you draw the line at killing them. Where do you draw the line?
I know. Gotcha.
She was taking a very minimal role in what had occurred to Deborah Brown, Donald Wood, and Chris Briard.
Because their crimes crossed state lines, Patricia Teeter and Stephen Brown are charged both in Maine and federal court.
Patricia Teeter and Stephen Brown were both charged with murder, felony murder, and kidnapping.
Coming up, will justice be served? Or will a jury believe Stephen and Patricia's claims that the murders were unplanned?
Prosecutors get a surprise from Stephen Brown's camp.
I always felt that he was going to come finish his job that he had started.
Stephen Brown and Patricia Teeter have both admitted their roles in a double murder and kidnapping in Maine, though both claim they never intended to commit any crime.
Prosecutors on both the state and federal level are preparing for what they think can be long trials when suddenly they get a surprise from Stephen Brown's camp. November 1999, Stephen Brown, against the advice of his attorney, pled guilty to 2 counts of murder in the state of Maine and was sentenced to 2 life sentences.
Kidnapping is a federal crime, and when you have a kidnapping act and murder results, then the penalty is mandatory life in jail.
When he pled guilty, I felt some kind of relief, but not enough, because I always felt that he could still get out. He had his way with people, that he can make them do things that he wanted, like manipulate people. So I always felt that he was always going to break out and come finish his job that he had started. I never really felt safe.
While Stephen admitted to being the crime's mastermind, prosecutors believe that Patricia was more than willing to go along with his plan in order to gain his favor.
She said, "Oh, I didn't ask you to accompany him with firearms to go talk, simply to go to talk to his wife. Well, why do you need the firearms?" She's just as culpable. She had to know exactly what Stephen had in mind.
In July 2000, Patricia Teeter also pleads guilty to 2 counts of intentional murder and 1 count of kidnapping in Maine State Court, as well as multiple federal charges. She's sentenced to 20 years on the state charges and 29 years on the federal charges. The sentences run concurrently.
How could this lovable receptionist turn into a murderer over the weekend? You know, she didn't have it in her. This is not the path that we knew.
In 2012, Stephen Brown commits suicide while incarcerated in federal prison.
I was very angry at Steve when he killed himself in 2012. I really do truly believe that he took the easy way out because he didn't want to suffer behind those walls. Now I look at it, I'm still angry at him for doing that.
I think my biggest feeling at the time was shock and regret, mostly because I feel like I never got the chance to tell him how I felt. I felt like I was owed that. As a child, I couldn't really express to him how I was feeling, but as an adult, I guess just learning how to deal with my past, I should have been able to tell him what he did to me wasn't okay. You made me feel like nobody is ever gonna love me. You made me feel like my life was worthless and we didn't deserve to suffer through your abuse. 2 people lost their lives because you were selfish. And I'll never get the chance to say that.
Deborah is finally getting back to normal all these years after her ordeal.
I don't have to look over my shoulders anymore. I don't live in fear. I can actually go out at nighttime now and not be afraid to be outside at dark. I'm back in counseling. It's really helping me with all these mixed emotions I've had over the years, being married to this man, and just helping me get back on balance with my life.
I don't think we really healed as a family for a very long time. When my mom was able to start healing and seeing her look at life in a different way, was able to help my brother and I start our healing process. And once we were there, you know, it kind of felt like home.
I really miss my brother on my dark days because Donald was the one person that I felt the safest with to talk to. And I feel that Chris never got to experience life. He never got to get married. He never got to have children. I feel like they got robbed. I'll never forget what they did. But in order for me to move on, I really did have to forgive them. And hopefully, wherever they go, wherever she goes, that they find some kind of peace with themselves. They're the ones that have to live with themselves now, whether they're alive or dead.